Hello and welcome to the Aquarius Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Reed. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by none other than Aquarium Co-op. And who better to talk about Aquarium Co-op than my guest for this episode, Mr. Robert Bennett, General Manager. Robert, what is your favorite co-op product right now, or a product that we sell?
That's a hard one because we sell a bunch of great stuff. But you know what? There's one I love to feed to the shop. I recommend it in a lot of unboxing videos, Xtreme Krill Flakes.
Ooh, do tell. What do you like about this product?
So, it's a good quality flake. And what I really like about it, it's packed with a good amount of krill in there. And why do I like krills? The krill's the natural color enhancer of the wild. That's why your salmon, if you get it like wild caught, it got that nice, beautiful pink color. And you ever notice there's the other salmon that's kind of orange color? That's artificially dyed. So what does this mean for your fish? Your reds and oranges are just going to be more vibrant. So it's just a natural way to kind of get a great color enhanced for your fish. And you know what? We all love that classic, easy to feed fish food, the flake food.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Robert, thank you so much, man. Now, on to the interview. Today's date is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. My guest today is a repeat guest, Mr. Robert Bennett, General Manager of Aquarium Co-op. Welcome back into the Aquarium Aquarist Podcast interview hot seat, sir.
Well, you're all right. It's Aquarium Co-op in here, so
It is. This is a true statement. We are doing some pre-interview sound check level stuff with talking about Mandalorian. So that's a very exciting series that we could completely go on. Should we just turn this episode into talking about nothing but the Mandalorian and just really upset the 2% of the population that doesn't watch Mandalorian?
Yeah. I think there's some shows that do that. That say they're going to talk about something else, and it's some other thing goes on.
It's mildly appropriate because I do have a Boba Fett painting in my office right there. So there is Mandalorian representation.
Multiple Star Wars stuff in here. I know. Do you still have the game set in here too?
The X-Wing game set?
Yeah.
No, I took that home. We actually never ended up playing that here.
Okay.
You should look up the rules on that, and we'll play X-Wing sometime.
I need to get a nerd game and get into something.
You can do Warhammer.
Yeah, I can do that.
It's a bit of a money sink, but it's
I
a
actually
lot of fun.
might even have some pieces at my mom's house somewhere.
It is a perfect pandemic lockdown activity of basically building and painting, and you have no idea how long it takes. So basically, I can kind of tie this into fish keeping, I guess, that between the hobbies of fish keeping and now this kind of like tabletop miniature thing, and having children and a family, there's zero free time. Like, there's zero free time for anything. So that's, good times. So anyway, Robert, welcome back to the Aquarius Podcast, man. It's been a little bit, at least a year, I'd probably say.
Year and a half, I think.
Yeah, a year and a half. So welcome back. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come talk to me, and hopefully we can do some good nerding out on fish stuff. Should we talk? So let's talk about Mr. Bob Steenfott and I. We have the Okefenokee Pygmy Sunfish Challenge, right?
Yes.
And so it's probably been at least a month since Bob and I did the interview.
Maybe, yeah, about a month, maybe just a wee bit more. So.
And we don't have Okefenokee Pygmy Sunfish yet.
I don't have the fish I ordered yet either.
No, we're not going to throw this company under the bus again. If somebody wants to go back and get the name of the website, but basically, what is the update? What is this company telling you on the status of our order? Because it's a fairly large order. Like, I've got stuff. Bob has stuff. You have stuff. Obviously,
yeah.
I think Dean
has
Dean's
some
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I need to call them. I didn't have time to call them yesterday. It's a mom and pop company, so it's a little hard to kind of get a hold of them.
We're mom and pop.
Yeah, we're mom and pop, but we know how to execute things correctly. So I did get a hold of them a little bit before Thanksgiving. I had a name drop who I was in there.
How did that? So,
which I already name dropped it on the original order. No, and I've been emailing and there was no response. I've been calling them.
What
prior.
What did your original order say? This is Robert Bennett from Aquarium Co-op.
Placing
an order?
Well, I think when I placed the order, it's like, hey, this is Rob from the Aquarium Co-op. Can't wait to get these in. And, they're like, generated emails that great, we'll have this to you next week. And you're like, sweet.
And this was at least a month ago now.
Yeah.
I think it's what we're saying.
And, it's supposed to ship out Monday. And, I didn't get the message saying, like, it's shipped out, which, I bought reptiles online. That's not sometimes uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
So it says Wednesday. So Wednesdays comes and goes. I'm like, well, what the heck? Now I'm trying to call the company. No response. Like, their voicemail is just basically like, please leave a message. And this message box is full.
Nice.
And their customer service area is a little wonky. It's like just one of those kind of like, if you're angry, please just leave an email here. So
the full voicemail inbox is like the first like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
What's
well,
going
this company's
on?
been around for a while too, so it's like you're like, well, maybe like are they dead? Like there's a pandemic going on, so yeah, I leave it. I think I sent an email, maybe even two, and I finally I just like I'm gonna keep trying to call them. Maybe I'm just getting them on weird lunch breaks. We're on West Coast, they're on the East Coast, and I finally get a hold of someone, and they're like, oh shoot, sorry, or no, it was the owner of the company, so it was like me getting a hold of Corey. And he's like, you know what? I don't have some of your fish. And of course, it has to be the fish that I wanted. So they actually have.
They
everything.
had
all your stuff.
Nice.
And they're like,
Well,
well,
send it. They didn't send partials.
I think they wanted to like clump it up together because their shipping is insanely expensive.
You're paying for it though. It's okay. If you're paying for it, I'm good with it.
Maybe they're kind of like, we can't do this. You have to pay again or something. I have no idea. But I was like, all right, cool. At least I got hold of someone. You know what? I'm a guy of second chances. Please just give me my order. I'll hey, if we can ship this out the next week, cool. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna try to get it. Still doesn't happen.
Oh man.
So I'm like, what the heck? I call again. And I get hold of I think it was like the daughter or somebody, and they. I was like, well, this is the Robert from Aquarium Co-op. And it was oh. Well, we're going to get these. We have to go out and collect because some of the stuff I wanted, they actually just go out and collect, which it sounds like that's actually kind of common with these native.
So we're talking 3 weeks in. They have an order. They have money.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
They still haven't fulfilled.
They still hadn't.
Because I think they're like looking around their tanks in their shop area, and they're like, oh, we just don't have some of these
3
fish.
weeks later?
Something like that, yeah. So like, well, some of these we have to go out and find, and it's like, we're going to get this out, but you're coming to Thanksgiving week, cold weather, all right, we're going to ship them out. So that should be technically this week if I heard it correctly. And supposedly we should get some extra feed kits in there.
Okay.
And throw in some extra fish in there.
Okay.
They're saying you've been awesome with being real patient with us. Thank you for not canceling.
Yeah. There's a struggle, and I think you saying that you're a guy of second chances. Like I worked for Amazon for a couple years and did that thing. So I'm very indoctrinated in like that customer obsession. Like that's actually one of their. Was it one of the tenets or was it one of the principles? Was customer obsession? I think it was what do they call them? Principles. Anyway, it's been at least 2.5 years now since I was last there.
Is that the triangle thing?
But there's a circle. There's like a golden circle of growth that Amazon does. That's like a napkin chart. Anyway, so I have this like very, very high standard for how you should take care of your customers because it takes a lot of resources to actually earn a new customer. Yeah. Okay. And you kind of get like the one chance to do a good job at it. And if you don't, you really need to appease that customer in one way or another. And we definitely we embody that here at Aquarium Co-op 100%. Like short of, and I was talking with, we actually had one of our reps in here this morning for one of our, big suppliers. And we're kind of going over this, that, these companies are shooting themselves in the foot when they try to nickel and dime their customers on, if a plant dies or whatever it is, and we just take care of you, whether it's USPS's fault, whether it's our fault, whether regardless of what it is, short of somebody being completely unreasonable and belligerent and demeaning and cursing and just like all the negative things that somebody could do interacting with us, like we're gonna take care of somebody short of somebody being unreasonable, as I had described. And so with that mentality, and I hear this story of a month deep into this order and like no real concession has happened, no partial shipment, no nothing, like no them reaching out to us to say that, you had to reach out to them several times. It's like this, that's why this hobby, tropical fish keeping, is ripe for a company like Aquarium Co-op that's going to step in and actually like update how customers are treated and update how orders are handled. Because there's like this old guard of, well, we're the website with the best price, so you're going to get terrible customer service. Deal with it. You're going to go into PetSmart, Petco. Good luck, ha ha. But now it's like there's this new generation of business that's pushing back and is bringing this better sense of customer service and customer satisfaction. It's not necessarily just on price, but it's we are going to treat you just as good as if you place your orders with Amazon or somebody else, because you have to. Like you have to in this day and age of like aggressive e-commerce. Like you can't just, have substandard service and expect that you're going to be around for very much longer. And so that's where, again, like working for Aquarium Co-op, like I want to be treated that same way, but at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, you're a fish website, so hey, you answered your phone at least, and you're going to send me extra fish. I guess that's okay. But hopefully in 5 or 10 years, like companies like an Aquahuna that adopt our level of customer service, that everybody's just going to have to step up their game, and you can buy with confidence from any of these sites, because if you're playing in this e-commerce tropical fish game, like, you better bring your A game or you're gonna go out of business real fast.
Yeah, and that customer service translates to our retail as well. It's not just like, you don't have USPS to blame, but, fish die, and, we're here, that we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, you guys, as a fanboy customer, you guys definitely took care of me. There was one time where I had ordered some intake sponges and it was shipped very poorly, and I just, I had a mild relationship with Corey at that point, so I just sent him a message like, hey man, I would want to know about this if I were in your operation, of this is how my package came, and I don't want any money back or anything. I'm fine with the product, but I just want you to know, right? And so he took that and passed it on to his operations team at the time, and they made some improvements. But then also you yourself, I came in, I picked up some Cardinal Tetras, and bringing them home, like I bought 12, and just in that short drive to my house, 25, 30 minutes from the co-op, 2 had passed. And, I sent you guys a message, or I called you, and you're like, oh, no worries, we'll take care of you next time you come in. And that was me as a customer. So, I definitely have that firsthand experience, and there was no real like, well, show me a picture, cut its head off, and then, like, you photoshopped that Cardinal Tetra and flipped it upside down in the picture, cut its head off, and then we'll give you a DOA credit.
Even if your water's like, some kind of like nuclear reactor, pool going on in there, we'll still work with you, because we've all been there. So we're trying to figure out how to make it great for you, so you don't go home and fail, because we want to keep you as a customer.
Yeah, well, if you fail, then you're going to leave the hobby.
You're going to leave the hobby.
It's not just us losing you; it's the hobby loses you. So,
and then not to mention, I have other shops, just like online, there's other places, but there's a few shops within not too far shouting distance from us. The fish store, and
there's a Petco. There's
Petco right up the
Petcos
road.
and PetSmarts everywhere, and
exactly. So
yeah, we gotta do what we can, and I think that's a good segue into what's new with the co-op. How has with COVID, and I hate beating the drum, but I feel like I have to, not even beating the drum, but bringing this pandemic thing back up. But how has it been at the retail store with COVID? What are some of the challenges? Like, just kind of talk about that.
So when COVID came in, it's over, like 9 months ago?
COVID.
10 months ago?
Yeah. COVID, I like to call
it. It was definitely like an oh shoot moment when it came down, because we did not know, are people going to be unemployed? That was kind of like when they were shutting down everything. I remember actually placing the fish order Sunday night, and like minutes later, the governor's shutting state down.
Yep.
And
it was scary.
It was scary. That first month was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know how to talk to my employees. That's the worst thing as a general manager, is how am I going to dress my crew? Like, everything's fine. We've been telling you as a company we want to keep you for a lifetime, and I don't even know if there's going to be a store, at this point. But luckily, I think the creativeness of Corey and us as a team, kind of thinking on our feet, we said, well, why don't we just try doing door side pickup?
Mm-hmm. Well, we had shut down too.
Yeah,
we had actually followed the lockdown shutdown, and even though we technically could have stayed open at the retail store, there was just so much uncertainty that we did close our doors for 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Well, yeah. So, no, we actually stayed open. We just didn't have anybody in.
I thought we did actually shut down for a period.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
No. We decided, like, you know what, we're just gonna have the door, and if someone wants something, we'll back it up.
That's right.
For them.
Okay.
But it was definitely, we were prepared. Like, I was extra feeding, and we were doing like like basically that first week or so, we're cleaning like a son of a gun in the shop, because we are getting prepared basically. So like, if we have to shut the shop down, basically we could kind of like maybe make it through, like, if I have to not come in for a day or something like that. But we started to do door side pickup, and surprisingly, it worked out okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sales numbers weren't bad, but when looking back at past, it was actually kind of what we used to do not too long ago. And it turned out with COVID, everyone's at home. We were talking about like the Warhammer kind of game, and like little hobbies. It was a hobby that suddenly blossomed, and I think that was the case for all the pet industry. Dog adoptions, cat adoptions went up. Everyone's at home. Everyone wants to do aquarium. It's a stressful time. Aquariums are one of the best, I think, stress relievers. Assuming everything's going great in your tank, it could also be a stress maker.
Yeah. If you want a stress maker, start a fish room. But start a fish room. Try to do like a high-end aquascape. Like, try to take your hobby beyond like the easy, not even easy, but like kind of the basic route, and then you can start really stressing yourself
Yeah,
out.
like
But
ADA
in
or
general,
like Dutch plant aquariums or something like that.
in general, yeah, it's a pretty stress relieving hobby.
And it was interesting to see how the sales changed a little bit. Like what was popular, it suddenly became the bread and butter fish. So your oddballs were just non-existent. No one was coming in looking for some kind of weird knife fish or bashir.
And what could some of that have been just people browsing?
I think
And then they start like, oh, what's that thing? I'll go ahead and buy it kind of shopping.
well, so that was basically the I'm brain farting right now on the word. Like when you walk in the store and you're like, you have no idea you want to buy something. You're like, oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna buy it. Impulse buying. Yeah, the impulse buying was gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was all that was basically what it was. It was your old school stuff. Everyone knows what a fancy guppy is. Everyone knows what a neon tetra is. And for plants, everyone knows what an Amazon sword was. Amazon sword sales went up. I used to not sell them that crazy in the shop, like maybe 5 a week. It went up to like 25 a week because everyone knew what that plant was because they couldn't see our collection. I mean, certainly they could go on their phone and look at the website, but some of those people might not really known about our website. We were gaining customers, so they were just kind of coming like, oh, you're a fish store near us. What plant should I want? Like, well, I want something green. I know something about swords. That's what I used to play with 30 years ago. I know what an angelfish is. And it turned out guppies were real easy. We just catch them in the catch cup when we bring them up to the door. It was awesome is we have a half door. We have like a barn door kind of.
That would like how convenient.
That was
is
the
it?
most convenient thing ever.
Right, like so Aquarium Co-op. If you're not fortunate enough to live in the area or you visited the store, like we literally have our front door is the warehouse is not like this though.
No, it's the same way, but it sticks really bad, so it won't open as easily.
So our complex, and I don't even think it's every retail space, but our what was formerly the warehouse and is now kind of like the backstock / break room, which is really nice now. Not that it wasn't before, but it's a really nice break room now. The retail store, the main door, it's a little bit wider, I think, than normal, but it's a barn door, so you get that half the door can stay open and the bottom can stay closed, which is like so perfect for curbside pickup, man.
We just posted up. We had our tills and we had like the little contactless kind of card reader, and we had those big windows up front. So if people wanted bettas, we would just be like, "What color are you looking for?" And you're like, "I like something red." And you're like, all right,
just hold it up through the window.
We just like we'd put them up on top of the.
Oh, nice.
I cleared off I usually carry like sticks and wood up there of random sorts, and I cleared
hardscape. Call it hardscape.
Yeah, hardscape. There you go.
I've got sticks and wood.
Well, I started putting rocks up there too.
Make it sound fancy. I used to put hardscape material up there.
Fancy manzanita wood. But anyway, so I cleared that out a little bit, and then we just be a landing zone for like 8 betta containers, and be like, I'll just point to which one you want, and that's kind of how it went.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm not down there at the retail store nearly as much as when we actually had the warehouse operation there. But that first like day or two when we started doing curbside, I do remember that there was at least one guy that was upset that this is like as it's just all going down. He drove up from Tacoma, which is about an hour drive south of us from the co-op. And so he made this drive, which, granted, it was lockdown, so he had smooth sailings at least. It's not like he had to sit in traffic. But he was fairly upset that he wasn't able to go into the store.
Well, I think we had some people coming in from like Texas or like just seemed oblivious to what was going on in the world, and it was like, oh, I really wanted to come up here. This is the whole reason we came up here. Like, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic and I'm playing.
Well, it's like this is the middle, like the beginning of the middle.
Yeah.
When we really, really didn't know anything, and everything was super, super scary.
And then, so anyway, we ran with that for a while, and then I think we decided to just kind of continue with it. Some shops were just letting people in because the pet business is considered
essential.
Yeah,
the food aspect of it, makes it helps us to be classified as essential. I do want to go back to people ordering kind of the classics. Was there any like people would show up at the door and be like, "What do you recommend? This is my,
totally.
I've got a 20 gallon, a 40 gallon. Yep. What kind of fish should I put in here?"
So luckily the lines weren't getting too crazy. Like on the weekends, we get a little bit of a line, but we'd have time to kind of work with them. So that's a typical day in the aquarium co-op. Is I just built a tank. What do I put in it? Or I'm going to build a tank. What do I put in it?
But at least now, because, and I guess to set the timeline up, we did curbside for a good like month or two.
It was like March through first week of June or so. I think
Okay,
it was
so
curbside. We went a little bit longer.
Yeah, a couple months. We did just curbside only, no customers in the store. Now, very, very limited number of people that come into the store. So you can do kind of that window shopping again and browsing and impulse buys and all that fun stuff. But was it, let's say somebody comes in, they say, I want little fish for my planted tank. Would you try to show them like a silver tip tetra, or would you just be like,
No,
you know what a neon tetra is? I'll just get you those.
Well, I'd
if they
probably go
didn't
like,
know.
well, do you like orange? I got like ember tetras. I think they're great for, so we kind of like cookie cutter out what we know fits for a tank. So,
Size, you do like size color.
Size
like
color,
the
yep.
two main kind of.
So if you're like
okay.
10 gallon or smaller, well, maybe we'll look at chili rasboras and
an Oscar.
An Oscar, yeah. If we're doing 10 to 20 gallon, then we know like the neons work well and things like that. But it turned out, neon tetras was what people wanted. So a lot of times it just kind of went to what they kind of grew up with or like were familiar with. And then during this time too, the fish selection got really limited. So
super limited.
We're talking even to the point of say like I think I was doing one order and it was rummy noses, which I order like 50 to 100 at a time, and not to mention when I sell them, it's 6 to a dozen at a time. I could order 12. 1, 2, 12.
Yeah,
that's all I could get. And one order from our main vendor. So that was how hard it was to get fish. And a lot of stuff just disappeared. Like autocinkless were just not available.
I remember
like 3 months.
So looking at these distributor Excel spreadsheets of what they have available, they typically have it broken up into categories like, here's your Lake Malawi cichlids, Tanganyikan, Old World cichlids, South American cichlids, yada yada. Like they break it out, live bears and whatnot, and you could have a couple hundred species on this list at any given time at a bare minimum. And so let's say like South American cichlids, that would at least have 40 different species
40,
of fish
yeah.
on a given week, right?
Yeah.
They update this list every week, and it got to the point like at its worst, right, at its most limited selection, I think that South American cichlid list dropped to like 5.
Something like that. Like
7.
discus were like not
right,
not
like
on
something
there.
something super crazy. Like wow, like there's nothing on there. And so while you've got this like windfall of people getting into the hobby, it then started butting up against like, oh, there's like 0 international flights.
Yeah.
Whether they're coming from a farm in Southeast Asia or they're wild collected in Africa or they're wild collected in South America, the flights are just not happening to get these fish into the country. So, luckily, things have significantly bounced back. I think we're very fortunate to have Florida fish farms, right? A good number of fish farms that produce a good amount of fish. And there was still some flights, LAX has still been getting a lot of flights from Southeast Asia. So we're still able to get some decent number of fish and plants. But yeah, it was really scary. Like, oh man, that's selection. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next week? And slowly species started to trickle back onto the list.
Because it got to the point where I know, like with one of my main ones, I have to hit a certain number of dollars for the order to happen. I think I had asked, like, am I able to fill this? Like, are you guys able to do it? And I think they're like, we got wiggle room right now. We understand. But yeah, it was hard, trying to stock the store because it neon tetras selling like crazy. Then suddenly I couldn't get neon tetras like it used to be. I could buy them like 100 out of batch, and then it was down to like maybe 50. And that's the number one fish. And so you're trying to feed the fire that's going on outside, and I'm running out of ammo for this.
Yeah, I wonder if the Southeast Asian fish farms, if they're just overflowing with stock right now. Because they're just not able to get nearly as much out, or if we're just because there are flights, but the freight has doubled or tripled depending on.
I think
where
it's in
coming from.
like a somewhat in between phase because I'm not seeing the grouping discounts like on some stuff, so I think you're just able to feed enough. I think the flights are just enough right now. But we'll see. Because we're in like what now, the third wave kind of going through right now through the country and kind of the world. So we'll see how it kind of goes.
Yeah. What else is new at the co-op?
Oh, what else is new? So, besides we're letting people come in and we are checking temperatures, and we get the pager system.
Yeah,
so I feel like we're
that's
on
a
an
pretty
Olive
sweet
Garden
system.
going on right now.
I was going to say Outback Steakhouse.
Outback Steakhouse.
How many of those do we have?
We got 10.
We have 10. So if you come to Aquarium Co-op, we will give you a little buzzer, right?
Yep.
And you can go back to your car because like in wintertime now. Our complex is kind of cool to walk around in, I guess. Like it's not, you can walk around and kill a few minutes going up and down the stairs and just kind of walking around the parking lot and whatnot. But as it gets colder and wetter, you're probably going to want to sit in your car. And so we've invested in the, and again, customer experience, right? Like we want you to have the best experience in kind of all facets when you shop with Aquarium Co-op, whether it's online or in the retail store. But we now have the restaurant style pager to let you know your table's ready.
Yeah.
And for us,
That's what I say. Your table's ready.
have you ever accidentally hit the button to like notify and you've been like, oh, it's not that person, or is it pretty easy?
No, it's pretty easy. I think one time I did hit the button, but it was a pager that was actually right there, like in my hand. And luckily it doesn't go off. These things are loud.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because you could hear them like going beep, beep, beep. You're like, well, where are you? I can hear you.
Is the next evolution we're going to get him to actually be like little Murphys?
Oh, that'd
Like
be cool.
people came around and like instead of a buzzer, it's like his 4 teeth just chomping, chomp, 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 and it's your turn.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got that, and it's funny, like trying to teach the workers how to work it, because we're just like, all right, like, we came across actually the issue was not everyone wanted a pager, like especially when it's sunny. It might be so Washington. It's kind of interesting weather. It could be 48 degrees, which is I would say it's chilly. But if the sun's out, people want to be out in the sun.
We take advantage of it. 100%.
They don't want to go in the car. It's around 4 o'clock was when they want to go in the car. Problem is like, let's say I got a line of 1 through 4. Number 3 might want the pager. Then now I have to hand the pagers to everybody.
Why wouldn't you just hand the pagers to everybody regardless if they're going
Well,
in their
because
car
sometimes
outside?
it's one of those things like if they're waiting outside, if they're going to stay in there, we decided like it's not a headache for us to deal with the pager system. Until someone wants it. So basically, once the moment someone wants it, then that's when we start the pager system. Because usually we could try to get the line going. If it's earlier in the day when it is sunny, it's not really a problem. We're getting through the line fairly quick, if there is even a line. But definitely by evening when we have to do it, and it was a trouble at first for the first day or two. Is like we would hand them the pager. We would hand number 1 to like the number 3 guy, and they're like, oh wait, it's Buzz the person. He's wearing a Yankees hat. That's the next person kind of coming in. And I was like, no. We're doing this all completely wrong. We have to hand it out in order to everyone. Everyone gets one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that seems to me to make the most sense. And I mean, to me as a customer, if I went to a fish store or like a real specialty store where I would never expect to be handed a restaurant style buzzer, kind of given the situation, that to me would be like, oh, this place is actually pretty serious. They care, like they want to make sure that they keep it as streamlined as possible. And
there's some shops around here that aren't caring, and I've definitely heard that it's a cluster show going on at some of those places. Because I've gone to some of them, and you're like, man, there is no social distancing going on here. I don't know how they're not being shut down. So I've seen it on the forums. I've actually got it from older folks that come in the store, the ones who would be mostly impacted by
right,
COVID.
like kind of an at-risk category.
And they're like, thank you so much, 1, for being open, and 2, for taking this seriously. We have sanitizer in there. You have to wear the mask. We only allow...
We spray people down, make them lift their arms up, do the complete 360
like
as
level
we hose
4
them down.
CDC going on.
You have to step in bleach as you walk in.
So I think even we could technically have a little bit more people in our shop. We decided to go even safer and just bring that number down just a little bit more, because it's a tight confine in there. I call it a submarine in the shop.
Yeah, it really is.
Because we care. Well, not only I don't want the disease, but I don't want you to get the disease. So we want to keep that outside.
How are people generally handling their time in the store? And what I mean by that is, are people making less frequent trips? Therefore, they are trying to maximize their time in the store and spend as much time as possible and just soak it up. Or are they completely realizing like, okay, I understand there's a line, pandemic, I'm in, I'm out. Because here's one of the things with the co-op, like one of the double-edged swords of being Aquarium Co-op is that as a customer, I know this firsthand, trying to go to the Aquarium Co-op on a weekend with your toddler, right, is a very frustrating experience, because there are so many people that come there that are just soaking up the coolness of the store and are talking with the staff and asking all the questions and doing the Murphy photo ops and all that stuff, that as somebody that just knows exactly what they want and they want to get in and out with their toddler, it's really, really hard when all the salespeople are tied up. So for me, I would actually, I think this is one of those things of what COVID brings that kind of maybe brings a little bit more stability to day-to-day life. Like, you don't have to worry about the guy behind you in a checkout line getting into your personal space, right?
Yeah.
We all remember those days when like the dude would just get like 2 inches from the back of your neck at Safeway, and or Vaughn's if you're in Southern California. And you're just like, come on, man, can I have some personal space?
Yeah.
Now with COVID, it's like everybody knows it just
Personal space.
just 6 feet. Get away from me.
That's what I remember. Like, I think just a few days before we shut down, and it was like a sardine can in there, and I was like, this is not safe. Like we got to do something, because I think it hasn't hit us like that was coming in, and it was packed. That was the typical weekend.
So what do you see? What do you see customers doing though? Are
It's
they?
both. It's both.
Oh,
You get some are like, no, screw it. I waited 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my time. Even though we got signs like, please don't spend more than 20 minutes in here. We want, so we can kind of keep the flow continuous, and we're kind of always around. You're like, anything else we can catch for you?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I can completely appreciate somebody wanting to enjoy a trip to our store.
I make it
or
hard.
any
I
fish
order
store.
awesome fish, and everyone wants to. It takes like 15 minutes just to walk around through the shop, I think, just to kind of get an idea of what you want.
It's a small store too.
Yeah.
It's a small store.
It's a little bit both. So you do get some people like, screw it. I came here from Tacoma. I waited in line. I'm here to go get my stuff. I want to enjoy my time. And you get some people who definitely get it. Like, nope, I'm in here. I want, like, it's usually for the food people, or that they kind of came in on what I call for a mission. They're kind of in and out. They know it. But we help speed it up because we only keep one group per basically associate.
Right.
So we, we're right there. So you don't have that person sitting behind you, breathing on your neck. So, and we're just kind of there like, well, what can we start for you today? Are you on a mission? Is there neon tetras you want to catch right away while you go browse? So we've done everything we can to kind of speed the system up, and I think it's working pretty well.
I think all things considered, like that in-store experience has to be improved than the previous days of going in on a weekend and there's 15 different sets of customers in a 1,000 square foot retail store.
Yeah.
Like that, sure, you had to wait 20 minutes to get in or 15 minutes, like whatever it was, but your time in the store now is so much more enjoyable because now you can actually like walk around and see what's in every tank because you don't have a wall of people blocking it off, right?
Yeah.
So, it's some of it is when life gives you lemons, make lemonade kind of stuff and look for the positive. So my problem is I am looking for the positives in things, right? Is it global pandemic? Sure. Yes. You can moan and drone about that and say how unfortunate things are, which, okay, how long are we going to keep playing that note? But, at the same time, just look for the positives that are out there. If somebody's not breathing down your neck at Safeway, you can go in a co-op and have a more enjoyable experience when it's your time to actually shop. And in the middle of a pandemic, you still have fish that you can buy. So,
and that's, I think, the next hurdle is once we're done with this pandemic, what we've learned from it, are we able to continue this? It sounds like a great thing, but are people going to play with that? Like, oh, that was fine for me taking that pager couple months ago, but that's over now. Is that pager system still going to work? Is the limited amount of people in the store still going to work? Because I think it's working right now. I totally agree. I think people kind of like that they got time to look in a store without people crowding in and around them.
I mean, granted you were in the store, but like a butcher shop, right? They always had those little like paper take your number and a little, hey, number 24, I'm serving number 24 now. Like you had that kind of shopping experience. I'm trying to draw like a parallel of, is there any other retail experience where you actually don't come in the store unless it's like maybe short of like Rodeo Drive, like super high end, like it is your appointment, sir. Now you can come on in and spend your thousands of dollars on a pair of socks. But like short of that experience, is there something else to say that this would be kind of equivalent to it? Therefore, maybe we could continue to kind of operate this way.
I think we can. I like you said, you mentioned about that butcher number. That's kind of how I kind of been thinking of this system. Is like, all right, number 2 ready.
But there could be some times too, though, like in the old days when somebody might have like grabbed a frozen food and just like jammed to the front of the counter.
Yeah. Oh, totally. That always happens.
And kind of cut in front of somebody.
Or the water testing people always want to kind of come and cut through everything.
Yeah. So, I guess in general, like if you just had to wait up front initially, but you would get 100% dedicated service once you actually get into the store.
I think that's what we're probably looking into. Is basically like, look, you're gonna have to wait, but when you're in, you have 100% of our attention and our services, and then
I like that.
Yeah, and maybe it's a unique aspect to the pet industry. It's something that we separated ourselves from everyone else, just like we already done it with the customer service, going above and beyond in communication.
Yeah.
Now you took another level of that, and for the in-shop experience.
Yeah. Yeah, because how many times have you been at Lowe's or Home Depot and you're like looking for somebody to help you?
My first experience, I remember like Petco, when Petco was new, like mid-90s, and I was in the reptile department wanting to get like a boa, and I think we sat there for like 40 minutes trying to get someone over there for our attention.
Yeah. So. Which if it was, the reverse was, hey, here's let's call it 20 or 30 minutes. Like, here, take this pager,
Mm-hmm.
and then once that thing goes off, you're gonna get whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think that I would have to imagine that that's a better experience.
I think so.
So we've seen fish availability bounce back. Has there been anything new on any of the wholesale lists that have excited you? Like, what are some new fish, or maybe an oldie but a goodie that's kind of popped back up that has excited you?
Well, I think you covered, I think, one in 1 year when you were interviewing Aquahuna. I liked the candy cane tetra. That is like,
Yeah, you brought that to my attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as a fish I'm going to try to keep in shop. If that thing's available and I have a spot for it in there, I think that's new standard for in there. I think it looks sweet. And as they grow bigger, they look more awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was the Burmese Hikari Danio. I think that was...
Ooh, yeah, that was
a hidden gem.
I think that was in an older Amazonas, and I want to say that was one... Burmese. Let's do the old.
I think I got 3 orders in of them. I only got a few left in the shop. I can't wait to get more in.
Burmese,
These guys
Hikari, Danio
are sweet.
They're blue, yeah.
Like highlighter yellow, like for the males. They're sexually dimorphic in color.
Is it this guy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got that blue. They got that blue central bar that runs the length of the body, and then they've got some pictures. They don't show the yellow.
The female kind of looks more like a zebra Danio, and then the male has that like highlighter yellow going on top and bottom.
Yeah, so this it's funny you bring this up because 2.5, 3 years ago, whenever it was, I was getting back in and I was setting up my first and main. Well, not first tank. The first one was this little Spec 3 sitting right here, but the 75 gallon, right? And I'm planning out what I'm going to put in there, and I was like really set on discus, and then flipping through, I don't know, Amazonas or whatever it was, I came across these Hikari Danios. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And so I showed it to my wife, and she's like, nah, stick with the discus. I like those better. But it's funny you bring that up because that's definitely one that, that's a really, really cool fish. And so you hadn't seen that before on the list?
No, because I think it's a recently discovered species. I don't know what year that Amazonas magazine. By the way, that's an amazing magazine to get a hold of.
Oh, I love it.
I think it's the best fish magazine.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Amazonas is awesome.
Yeah.
Tropical Fish magazine needs to. Is it TF Tropical Fish Hobbyist magazine? What is the
sounds
other one?
right.
They need to split out saltwater and freshwater.
Yeah,
like I still subscribe. You still get my money, Tropical Fish magazine, but I feel like half of my dollars are being wasted because I'm just not into saltwater. Like, I'm not into saltwater. I'm not into coral. I've talked with Sean from Fritz about this before, that, you do these mixed events and I feel like it's water and oil. Like, when you put the two together, like, sure, you kind of, like, they're both liquid, but they're not the same, and they don't necessarily blend. Yeah, there's those people that have like the one Fowler tank with all the rest of their fresh water or whatever it is, but they are very distinctly different hobbies that they share some similar stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's different. It is just different. So please, invest more and just break out freshwater, break out saltwater, change it up, because Amazonas is just, world class. It is a fantastic magazine, and I hope to have somebody from Amazonas on the podcast, hopefully soon. But yeah, fantastic magazine.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? We're talking about the when this thing was.
Yeah, so I think it's recently. Seriouslyfish.com. So this is a website actually I use a lot when I'm doing my fish orders.
I love the etymology right here. Brachydanio, ancient Greek meaning short. So brachus meaning short, and Dani, a Bengalese vernacular term for small minnow-like cyprinid. I love the etymology so much. Do they have any other, like, when this thing was found?
I feel like it was within maybe the past, 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, that seems, this I think maybe the issue was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
And that makes me wonder, like, how long it does take for new things to kind of trickle into the hobby. Because I felt like I didn't see this guy until just recently. Yeah. Another interesting fish I've been bringing in, as I just got the second one in, and he's really cool. He's in the shop right now. Is a centipede knife fish.
What is that?
Because typically it's clown knives, ghost knives are my mainly available knife fish when I do an order.
Oh, this guy's cool. So he looks like a
leaf.
Yeah, he looks like a leaf fish.
So I noticed one thing. So we were wondering, why does he lay on his side? Like, he looks like he's dead when you put him in the tank. And I realized he's trying to blend in like a leaf. He's probably collected in the Amazon where you have a bunch of leaf litter in there. because he'll kind of flicker a little bit, but he acts during the day like a leaf. And if the tank gets a little dark, he comes out and active, or you throw food in there. He gets down and munches on it. But very peaceful fish, 9 inches or so, full grown.
Does he have eyes like a flounder, both on one side?
No,
or does he
they're
have
one on
normal?
each side.
Okay.
But no, so he'll just lay down and go completely flat on the substrate.
That's
or
cool.
a filter.
So oddballs can be a little bit more expensive. What's the retail price on that guy right now?
Surprisingly, not much, like 35
Okay.
bucks or so.
Yeah,
I think
for-
35. Now, the one that has gone up is actually been extremely hard to find right now. Is the Shodan Eye Puffer, which I was getting almost weekly prior to COVID, and they were originally going for 200.
Preston John, where you at, man? You still breeding these things? Doesn't Dean have a
I think
like
he's still
mass?
trying to.
I thought he had Fry that were doing well like 3 months ago.
I just saw him yesterday. I forgot to ask him about it. So
Should I message him now and be like, Robert and I are
Dean
doing
chat.
an interview? That's what Bob and I did when we were talking about the sunfish. I was like, Robert's placed an order. I'm gonna hit him up right now. And I was messaging you while Bob and I were talking, recording.
Yeah, so Shodan I sell now for 300 and
Whoa,
300. So
well, you can't get them. So
yeah, you can't get them. And when I got them, I'm like, I just 200. Could I sell them for 200? Sure, but I'm like, I can't get my hands on this thing, and this has just got more expensive.
they're an amazing fish. I mean,
surprisingly 300. So I put the first one out for 300. I'm like, I don't know if anyone's gonna bite on this fish for $300. 20 seconds on the floor. 20 seconds on the floor.
like you printed out the little brother tag,
Popped it in.
put it on there.
Lady walks by and was like, mine just died. Buying it right now. I'm calling my boyfriend to make sure it's all good.
That is funny.
And then we're like, all right, okay, done, sold. I get like another couple weeks later, I get like another one I think trickles in. And I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. It was like 2 days maybe, sold. You're like, all right. So I think I sold 6 or whatever at this time.
Wow.
Because I got there for about a week or two, I was able to get them in, from our wholesalers. I did get some in on a trade. Yeah, I'm going for 300 right now.
Tank raised are wild.
I think they're all well. Okay, so the wholesalers, I don't know for sure. I think they're wild because that might make sense if the whole world's kind of going on a fire show right now. I don't see people going to the Congo to catch them.
So you think they're tank raised?
No, I think some of them. I think the ones we're ordering might be wild caught.
Oh, okay.
I think they're going to the Congo for them. The first one I brought in was definitely tank raised. It was on a trade. It was just a female that was getting kind of a little bit beaten up on. The guy just didn't need it anymore.
Well, it seemed like, when Corey first, and I'll 100% admit that I had never heard of this puffer before until Corey was talking about it on like a Real Fish Talk or something like that back in my, still fanboy customer days. And I was just completely intrigued. I'm like, oh my God, I have to have that fish. And, at that time, it was like the one guy in Germany was the only one that had any success breeding them. And it was like you had to have zero light when they were fry and just all of this stuff. Like, this thing is just crazy impossible to breed. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Preston John was able to breed
He's
them.
cranking them out like a factory.
Yeah, and then you had this dude in like Eastern Washington. I've seen him pop up on social media that he's breeding them and having success.
I want to say there's a guy up in like Orcas or Whidbey Island that's breeding. I don't know how successful, but I think that's where one of my trades came in from.
Yeah, but I mean, you're now starting to see that people have cracked the code of how to breed and work with the Shodan Type Puffer, and it's a lot of attention, ton of microfoods, constant feeding throughout the day, like just kind of the obviously male female and how you separate them, how you have the tank set up and whatnot. So we've kind of cracked that code on them, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years if you just have
tank raised ones.
Yeah, more and more people with tank raised.
I think it's going to have to be
because their clutches are huge.
Their clutches are huge, but I think a lot of things that people are going to have to start breeding. You're already seeing a lot of deforestation going on in the Amazon. Fires going on and just uncertainty in certain areas like the Congo. I think you're just going to have to be forced to start breeding. Not to mention also as Brazil, I think shuts down just pulling stuff out for the most part.
I want to say it's from like certain rivers, and I think they have a white list on what can be exported, and then the joke is that's why you get the Colombian zebra plecos.
Oh yeah,
on the export list.
Yeah, because I explained. Yeah, I had was a Brazilian cardinal tetras came in the other day. And
Yeah, there's definitely fish that can be exported. I think they have rules around like foreigners are not allowed to like dip nets or collect fish or keep fish or something
that
like
sounds
that.
familiar.
So they do definitely have some restrictive rules that like Peru or Colombia or some other South American countries don't have. But yeah, fish are definitely coming out of
So
Brazil.
you're definitely seeing a push for people trying to breed plecos and corridors. I think that's the ones that are going to be the most were impacted on these like no collection kind of stuff going on.
Well, the thing with the Congo is that it's so, the situation in the Congo is so politically fraught. There's so much, all of the 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 violence, the war torn nature of it, that there's probably still so much of the Congo River that's unexplored and
Yeah.
undocumented, and all the species that are probably still there that maybe humans haven't encroached on that area yet. It's
That's amazing river. That river. Actually, I have some books at home. I find if there's one area I would love to go to,
oh, for sure, 100% the
the
Congo,
Congo. I
absolutely.
think of the whole world. I find that river and that biotope system, that whole eco area, amazing.
Well, just the pool, like how it goes from being this incredibly deep, narrow, like super rapid, like it spans the spectrum, like how this river
And
runs.
there's like was it class 3 rapids going through the
Some,
capital or
something crazy. There's something crazy like that, and then you've got this pool Malebo. That's this massive, outstretched like lake. That's on the. Let's actually. What are we doing, man? I got
So a little factoid here.
I'm projecting
So
right
I used
now.
to do
on
factoids
the
at my
screen.
old job for people.
Oh boy,
and that's
let's
what
do it.
I loved the Congo River back then years ago before I worked for Current Co-op. I believe if they properly were to dam that river, it could actually power the whole continent.
I think
of
I've heard
Africa.
that. Yeah, I've heard that. So Pool Malebo. Let's see if we can find it. So I think it's towards the end. Is it before or after Kinshasa? So Pool Malebo is, I think, where the puffers come from. Is it this right here?
Well, yeah, and I think if I saw Preston show me, is it where they collect them? It's like dirty little
I think-
water areas. Like it's not where you think it's going to be. It's not some crystal clear stream. It was literally where people were washing dishes.
Malebo. Yep, that's Pool Malebo. Yeah. So Melanie Stossany, Dr. Melanie Stossany, I think she's doctor from like the Smithsonian or wherever she's from, but she goes to the Congo, does collecting, does all this research. And I watched one of her presentations that's on YouTube. I've talked about several times now, and it's amazing, and I should watch it again. I'll link it to you. You'd freaking get a kick out of it. And she talks about how basically like those rapids kind of form a natural speciation kind of catalyst, in that it is so like the water is so swift, it is so deep.
Acts like a mountain, essentially.
Species cannot cross it, right?
Yeah.
So on one side of the river, you've got one species of cichlid, and then on the other side, you have a related species, but it has evolved slightly different than these other ones. And then you've got some that live at the very bottom that they eventually, that they find it when they die and they wash up to the top. But yeah, Pumalebo outside of Kinshasa, I believe, formerly Stanley Pool. Yep, learned that from her. But yeah, so you have this like massive, like wide stretching Pool Malebo, and then as it flows downstream, I think it then kind of compresses into those rapids, and you get super deep, super crazy, gnarly rapids. But it's just an amazing body of water, amazing part of the
you got
world.
some like real slag areas, where you got like your crebensis, like one of my favorite fish. I don't say like pretty much the whole continent of Africa. I think is just amazing for the wildlife.
It's pretty freaking awesome. Like going into like Western Africa, going into any of these like let's see here, like I think Sierra Leone, like this whole like Atlantic Ocean, Western Africa just has this whole strip of killifish and cichlids, and just it's incredible. It's an absolutely incredible area. And then of course Rift Lakes.
Yeah, Rift Lakes. That gets me another question. So I've been bringing in killifish, and Jimmy and I are wondering. We've been talking about this. We kind of wonder with the whole aquarium hobby kind of blown up right now, and nano tanks certainly being popular because a lot of people live in apartments, small condos, where like your little 3-gallon tank right there is maybe all you could have. Killifish, I think, are kind of getting popular.
You think so?
I think so. I think they're a little bit on the rise, and especially with something. I think people kind of being interested in trying to breed stuff. I think they're kind of gaining popularity.
Well, what's the joke? It's like they're the shoebox fish or whatever, because all the killie guys, all the old school killie guys, they have nothing but all of those sterilite clear plastic containers, and that's where they basically like raise their killie fish. They keep their eggs, they keep the adults sometimes, like they spawn them in these things. And so you go into like an old school person's fish room, and they've got just all these like small
I've
clear
heard
containers.
That, I've heard that. There's tons of little tanks everywhere.
Yeah, I wonder though, is it? So I would wonder, and maybe you can speak to this, but are people buying, like, new people into the hobby with nano tanks? Are they only getting the males, or are they getting males and females?
Well, we only sell males and females of most of the annuals. Or
Hmm.
now some stuff like
Like somebody has to buy the male
you have
female.
to buy
It
the male
has to
female.
be a
Yeah.
pair.
So
Okay.
sometimes the female kicks it. It's never the male that kicks it early. It's always a female. I think they just get thrashed in.
The Rachovies that I tried to work with, the female went first.
Yeah, like I noticed, like
Yeah.
mine at home, like the female's getting kind of a little bit beaten up on by the male, and so sometimes I'll have a lone male, kicking around. So in that case, we sell them for like half off on there. So some people just want a cool looking fish for their
Right.
tank for a while. But stuff like clown killies, gardener eye, not gardener eyes, clown killies and normal lamp eyes, you can buy whatever you want. They just coming in like a group. I'll buy 25, 30 at a go.
Yeah, gardenizer. I mean, that is such a hardy, awesome fish too. That I think anybody starting in the hobby, they would not be sad to have a male gardener kicking
Gardener,
around in their
yeah.
tank. What killie did you take home recently?
The Gunther
The Gunther. Nothiobrachus Gunther.
Brachus.
Let's see here. Let's pull
So
that
I'm
guy
trying
up.
to breed these. We'll see if it happens. I was like, I'm gonna
What's
try
your
it.
so then? What are you doing, Robert? Take me through how you
am
were
I
trying to breed
Well, I
these
need to get
guys.
some peat moss. I don't have that yet. But it's in a heavily planted up like 6.8 gallon aquarium. I got crypts out in there everywhere and some floating plants.
So my blue Galaris right now, I since abandoned the gravel substrate layer that was recommended to me. It just it was recommended by Rosario Lacorte, and I have zero doubt that he crushed it and did incredibly well with his blue Galaris by having them spawn in the gravel.
Which, by the way, is like the most sought after killifish. I
The
think
blue
in the trade.
Galaris.
Yeah,
Well,
everyone wants that one.
I'm trying, Robert. I'm trying. Okay. So I abandoned that because I had done the suctioning a couple times, and I'd get like one or two eggs that I would see in there, but I just wasn't getting the results that he had told me about. And again, I have zero doubt that his experience and his skill is why he was so successful, and I'm just a goof. Like, I'm just a Padawan breeder. Just kind of get just getting by doing my thing. And so I've switched it up, and now I've done mops. So I do sinking mops of green yarn, and I could probably pull 5 or 6 eggs from each of those mops every couple days.
Are
All
you
right?
are you able to see the eggs really
Yep.
clearly on there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I've got 3 tanks with 3 pairs of these of the blue Galaris, and then I've got one male who's by himself. He's hanging out with the giant autos in the 10-gallon. And every day I'll get every other day I'll get 5 or 6 eggs. Now I've now course corrected, and I've got them breeding. I've got them spawning. I'm getting eggs in the mop. I'm pulling them, but now I'm at this point where Rosario had recommended that I do water incubation, and so Corey and I were talking about it, and it was just, we'll just put the eggs in your little trays that you use for the fry grow up, and just leave them in there, and then hopefully that should do the trick, kind of per Rosario. Well, either they were getting blown out or like they were just fungusing like that. I wasn't having success with that. So now what I'm trying to do is figure out how do I get them in peat. I watched one video of doing the peat moss incubation, the dry incubation, if you will. And the guy was like, okay, well, I'll take peat moss, I'll get it moist, and then I'll just put the eggs on top, and then every couple days I go in and I'll pick out the ones that fungus. Well, I didn't quite figure that out. I think I need to get that out of my fish room because it's too dry in there, and I think it's sucking too much of the moisture out, even though I've got it like in an enclosed container. So that wasn't working for me very well. And so now what I'm doing, and I think I've done it one time now. So what I've done is I've take my measuring cup, I do like 2 drops of methylene blue, so a little bit heavier than what I would even do for angel eggs when I pull them. Usually with angel eggs, I'll just kind of like touch the little dopper in. It's not even like a full drop. It just kind of turns the water light blue a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that works just fine for angelfish. But I've gone a little bit heavier on the methylene blue and a smaller amount of water. And then I pick out the ones that clearly fungus. And I've done one batch of moist peat, plastic bag, put the eggs in there, put like 10 eggs in there, seal it up, write the date, and I'm going to let those sit in my closet up above in the dark for like 7 weeks. I don't know if that's going to work, but now I'm on my second batch of, I've got the methylene blue water, I've got eggs in there. Last night I pulled out a couple ones that were fungused, and it's like, I think these things are at least fertilized. So now I'm at the point where I'm just like trying to figure out. I've got them breeding. I'm getting the eggs. Now it's how do I get the eggs to incubate, and then it's a matter of I know I can hatch them out because I obviously hatched out eggs to get my blue gularis to begin with. So that's kind of where I am right now. That's my update on blue gularis, and the hope would be that I can bring you in like 10 pairs a month or something, like something like that, like some consistent number of blue gularis that I can bring into Aquarium Co-op. Yeah, because mine have a really cool, they're the low, which I think you might have seen a picture of them.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
You've seen pictures of them?
Of your, I think of your stock.
On the forum. Let's see here. Shout out to forum.aquariumcoop.com. You can come get in on the action and check out all the cool stuff that
I
we're
also
doing.
post weekly the fish stock list.
Ooh, there you go. Your response to mine, by the way, where I was like, Robert, I think I brought in 30 or 40. What do you think? And you're like, sounds right.
Yeah.
I was like, well, thanks for the
What time was it? Like 11:30 at night?
I don't know. You don't have to respond at 11:30 at night.
I feel obligated to.
Oh my goodness.
That Aquarium Co-op customer service.
Oh, you're killing me. You're
I
killing
have to
me.
respond to everything.
That's too funny, man. That's too funny. All right, where am I at here? I'm going to manage my followed content, and it is Randy's Fish Room is the thread. And I think, did I start off with blue gularis? I think I did. There he is. What? The image is broken? We got to fix that. Yeah, see, this is so one time I actually did get some eggs when I did the whole like pull out some gravel and other junk, and that was some blue gularis eggs. But yeah, that's weird though that picture's not there anymore.
Huh.
Anyway,
I know I saw it, and I don't feel like it was on this forum. I felt like it was maybe...
it's basically these guys.
I think it was through like one of our little group chats or something.
Yeah, these ones have a much lighter blue than kind of the traditional. They don't have that very bright orange kind of flag stripe on their tail.
Yeah.
But I feed them bloodworms like every day.
Wow.
And there's one male that's a chunk. I actually probably should not feed them every day bloodworms. But hey, they need those good nutrients, that protein to make those eggs. Which hopefully I'm not overfeeding them.
Okay, so speaking of food, this is something because I'm kind of excited back to like with that order that we're waiting on showing up here, and some of that order I placed is live food. Like I have a copepod colony, and I'm trying to get Dean wants like a Daphnia colony, and so in the shop we're hatching baby brine shrimp. That's obviously a very popular thing with shipping out brine shrimp hatchery kits and stuff like that. And with the whole kind of aquarium hobby blowing up, do you think live food culturing is like the next kind of like thing about to like blow up?
Live food culturing?
Yeah. Because a lot of people now care about what you eat, like what goes in your mouth. And I get that quite a bit in the shop. People, they're going through the ingredients of a fish list on a fish food bottle, and they don't want to see the fillers.
So do I think as a business live food culturing is going to be a thing, or do I think people in general are going to culture live foods for
I guess a little bit both, especially with trying to breed more fish. Things get a little bit tougher to collect in the wild, and you're now forced to kind of breed. Do you think?
So I would say there's probably like a percentage of an average Aquarius with like 1 to 3 tanks. A percentage of them are going to occasionally hatch brine shrimp out, right? And then of the people that are getting into the hobby now, a certain percentage of them are going to get multiple tank syndrome. And then it's pretty likely, I would say, if you've got multiple tank syndrome, you're highly likely going to get into breeding or hatching out baby brine shrimp, and then eventually probably trying to work with Daphnia or one of these other live cultures. I would think so. So I would say inherently, just because the hobby's growing, I would say that that more people will be doing this kind of stuff.
And I've seen it at Petco where you go into the little fridge sections, usually in the reptile area. They'll have like sometimes baby brine there, and they'll have other copepods that you feed your reef tank. So I'm wondering too, would some kind of fish food manufacturer kind of start breeding stuff where they have it like this bottle lasts say 3 weeks, comes in the fridge, and it's some kind of colony you can just feed your fish, or it should be a starter colony.
Yeah, I mean, so what got me super jealous of one of the Germany videos that Corey shared was that their retail pet stores, like they're brick and mortar, and by brick and mortar, they're very, very nice though compared to our brick and mortars. Like they had daily shipments of baby brine shrimp, and of I want to say even Daphnia. Like you could go in there and get this little plastic tubey sock thing
I think I saw that.
full
on
of
yeah.
those live foods, and I think they were getting that like every day or every other day. So like we know that in Germany that's sustainable to some point, right? Whether it's about to collapse or it's booming, like I don't know, but they're doing it today. And if enough people get into the hobby and there's enough demand for it, then for sure, like I think it would be a business, a potential business model. But I don't know, like the live food culturing or like buying live, I don't know, Daphne or something. I don't know how much money is in that.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
food. I don't know.
like
I
to
just
make
something
it
kind of curious in my
because our shipping is so expensive is the problem.
yeah.
Like shipping here compared
Well,
to elsewhere in the world, like because the
maybe
country's so
it's
large.
oh yeah, large.
Because that's like when you talk to some of these e-commerce people that are in Europe versus here, just kind of what they're able to ship. And I've never fact checked this, so I'm just going off what I've been told is that shipping in Europe is much less expensive than it is here. Because for us we have to like them shipping from the UK to Germany would be like us shipping from Washington to Southern California,
Which I
perhaps.
kind of forget how big our country is.
It's freaking huge.
Yeah, it's freaking huge. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I guess like was like Germany, like fits inside the United States.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty stinking huge, man.
no, you see that also in the reptile culture over there too. They feed tons of other stuff. Like here, it's just crickets. And if you're lucky, like we have a nice little reptile store not far from here. We can get cockroaches. You see that kind of came in a Petco. It's kind of BS a little bit. It's like 2 cockroaches in a container. But over there, that's a normal thing. Like you don't really feed crickets there. It's like no, it's locusts. Like that's what you feed. It's grasshoppers is what they're big on.
Is a grasshopper more nutritious than a cricket?
It's more nutrition. I think here it is the not FDA, but it's basically they don't want them getting loose and like eating up all your corn.
Right,
like
and doing like the biblical plague of locusts flying in and just like wiping out.
And I know like
crops.
just the bug hobby in general is big in Europe too. So like. They have basically a plethora of insects for your critters to eat.
I don't want to admit it, but like getting the Pac-Man frog for my son has almost made me interested in like getting a smaller like bug enclosure. And I don't want to tell you that because I made fun of you so much for it, but giving you a hard time.
Hey, I kept cockroaches before. There's some cool ones out there. If you ever like wanted, I always want to do.
I gave you the dubia roaches, right? Didn't I bought dubia roaches when I bought my gargoyle gecko.
I think so, and I probably fed them off. I don't have anything. I don't remember.
But that's like a feeder / like pet cockroach.
Well, like one I wanted to always keep was called Blabberus giganticus, and it's like a 6-inch wingspan on a cockroach.
Oh, jeez.
But they're like the giant cave roach. Anyway, like it's like you could feed them off. I guess that'd be like using your killifish as like a feeder fish.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible. That's terrible. All right, Robert. Well, we're hitting the where are we at? About an hour in this conversation, man. It's been an absolute blast catching up with you and talking about a wide potpourri, a cornucopia of subjects with you, sir. Let's try to do another one before a year and a half is out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, whenever we do, everything's returned to normal, and we've got a bunch more people in the hobby that are being super successful, and maybe we're talking about a couple businesses that have popped up and are shipping live Daphnia to your door for a very reasonable price, or
Make it a thing.
Whatever.
It a thing.
Whatever. You make it a thing. You do it.
So telling people like breed.
You got
like
a garage,
Daphne
buddy.
Door frogs,
All right, Robert. Have a good one, man. Thank you.
Thank you.